Hi, everybody. I'm Corinne. As Rashawn just said, I'm so excited to be here today on the power of perspective.
We went to high school together.
Yep.
Which feels like, I don't know, for me, it feels like a generation ago.
Yeah, it's really 9 years. We started high school 9 years ago. We graduated 5 years ago.
Yeah, 2016 is 2025. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
insane.
crazy. That's so crazy.
How different are you now from you were in high school?
That's a great question. But one of the big differences I think between me now and then was just like my faith, like, and my relationship with God. Like going to a Catholic high school too, like I never really realized like I was surrounded by God. At all times you walk in, the first thing you see is the cross, you know? Definitely more mature. Like I've grown up so much, thank God.
Yeah.
Like so much. So yeah, just different. And like also my personality has definitely changed. Like I'm still very like silly, but I definitely had to like learn how to like tighten up because I feel like some not that's not needed at all times, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What traits do you still have from back then?
I think my sense of humor, like my sense of humor has always been it's very dry, but like I think I'm still very like still full of like that humor. Like even though sometimes again like it's not needed. But that's a big trait I think that I still possess. Trait that I want to unlearn that I still have. Probably my unseriousness. Like I feel like I'm very unserious to this day. Like I've always been unserious and I think I'm still unserious. And I think it's affected like different areas of my life, honestly. But yeah, that's a big one. I think I need to like learn how to slowly unlearn.
So if 16-year-old you could see you now, what would she say? Would she be proud, confused, shocked? Obviously, so much has changed, but think about you when you were 16. Like we were sophomores, I think.
Right, yeah.
You were in different walks of life back then. Do you think she would be happy with you right now? Is this where you imagine yourself 7, 8 years later?
Honestly, no. Like, I don't know where I thought I would be, but like, honestly, I thought like I'd be like moved out of my parents' house, like living this lavish because like I've always been into YouTube and like just now, like this year, I'm finally getting into it. But I think like I thought I would be honestly further or like not in a better place. I'm in a great place right now, honestly. But I think I thought I would be like, if my 16-year-old self was seeing me now, she'd be like, "Oh, girl, like I thought you would be like, you know, moved out in your little apartment, like, or even in like your condo." But I think she would be proud, honestly, even though like I'm not like this like big time, like wealthy, crazy, whatever person. Like I think she would be proud of like how far I've come because like I went through so much like in my life in general, I think but especially in like high school, like I was going through stuff like silently, like battling stuff that I didn't even realize. So I think she would just be proud of like how like intact mentally and physically that I am too. Cause yeah, it was a tough time. High school was a tough time. I'm not gonna lie.
When you talk about moments that go unnoticed, moments like trauma, healing, the lessons that we learned, most of my lessons that I've learned through trauma.
Right. Yeah.
These tribulations that we went through. And was there a moment that really shifted your perspective where you were like, I'm not who I was anymore?
Yeah, last year. Wow. Honestly, it's very recent, but last year, 2024, I always say this when I talk about this, like in terms of like my testimony too, but it was such like a transformative period for me. I feel like the beginning of the year was so tough. The end of 2023 was really hard. And I realized that like kind of what we were talking about before, like there were so many behaviors I had to unlearn in order to like be who I am now and just be better in general. Like I didn't want to let go of who I thought I was because I thought like this is me, like this is true, like but it really wasn't. It's like certain things I had to just like let go of. But last year was definitely a very transformative period for me. I went through a lot. Less trauma. Honestly, everything is traumatic, honestly, but less trauma and more transformative. Like everything I went through made me better. It made me so much better. Like, yeah. Last year was a year.
What do you think social media is doing to our generation's ability to build real healthy relationships? There's people who would like a story, There's people who, I see regularly on Instagram and in person, like, just walk right past you. Social media friends, but not actual friends. So I just want to get your take. What do you think it's done and how has it affected building healthy relationships?
It's so deceiving in so many different ways. Let's start there. It's very, very deceiving. But I also think we're kind of like programmed now. So kind of like to go off what you were saying about like people like who like your post interact with your stuff, but then see you and kind of like walk past you. I feel like it's because we're almost like tone deaf in a way. Like very just, oh well, like yeah, I know you on Instagram and like I've seen you, but like it's Instagram, so it's like a totally different world almost. Like people who play like those like virtual games and stuff, like it's like that. Like it's almost like Instagram playing a virtual game, and like it's not really us. So like, why would anybody feel the way that I walk past them? Like that's not real, anyways. You know what I mean? You said relationships too. I think in terms of relationships, like speaking firstly about romantic relationships, I feel like bro, like it almost like I don't know what to say. It's so detrimental, I feel like, to like romance relationships because like I saw this guy, I forget his name, but he was literally talking about how we were never meant. I think it was honestly Dr. Umar, honestly, but he was like, we were never meant to see so many people like in life.
He is a genius.
No, yes, like we were never meant to see so many like attractive people in our lifetime. Like, think about that, like, put that into perspective, like on a day to day. Like, how many attractive people do you actually see? Maybe one. Some days you'll go by a whole day not seeing anybody like that you're like, attracted to, like not romantically because you gotta know people, but like, physically, right? And versus like Instagram, like you're seeing all these people, like, and you're like, oh, this is my type of this is my type. Also, like you see romantic relationships on social media as well, and they don't ever show you really like that side kind of like the relationship. Like it's always a good highlights, which is what social media is. It's like our highlight reel, honestly. One girl by her boyfriend like a ton of different things. You're like, oh, like I need to be better in my relationship. Meanwhile, your boyfriend loves you, your husband, your fiance appreciates you so much in ways that are less than just materialistic, quality time, words of affirmation. Like, they see you, or you see these things, and you see these people, and you think like this needs to be your life 100%. I feel like it really does play a role. And then also like friendships as well. I've seen so many TikToks to the point where now I'm on TikTok, I'm pressing, there's a not interested button you can press. So I press that stuff because I'm like, you are very selfish in terms of friendship too. So like you're seeing people post like, oh, like my friend did this to me and da da da. And it's just like all these things that you're taking to social media, you can have a conversation with this person. But yeah, I think social media is just, I love it, but I hate it at the same time.
I was speaking with somebody not too long ago, and they said to me very plainly that social media has created standards that other people need to carry. It's made it nearly impossible to be in a long-lasting, loving relationship.
Right.
The biggest thing for me as well is the identity crisis from social media. Right. Like, let's say somebody is, not to be on the nose, but starting a podcast, right? Let's say I was like, okay, my lighting isn't good because their lighting looks that good.
Right.
My audio is horrible, so I can't start, or all of these things, which I've done. Because I think we're creatures of comparison naturally. That's how we grow. But I feel like social media has created such an unhealthy balance. If you could delete every trace of yourself, right, from social media and start over, would you?
In this current moment, I would. I would, yeah. Because like, there's just so many, like I used to have, like, because you said Snapchat, and like also I used to have like spam Instagrams in like high school and stuff. But I would literally get rid of it and start over. Even my Instagram now, like I'm honestly, it's funny that you ask this because I'm actually in a kind of weird space where I'm trying to. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, like now that I've given my life to Christ, like I need to like live like I'm giving my life to Christ, and like I don't want people to go on my Instagram and be like, well, she said she likes God, but she's posting this or posting this. But yeah, I would definitely like get rid of everything and start over if I could. Especially because like I'm like growing, like I don't really have too much of like a platform too much right now. So yeah, definitely start over.
Navigating through your 20s right now, obviously there's no blueprint, but in so much uncertainty, I feel like. Do you feel prepared Do you have it all mapped out, or are you playing it year by year?
Say that I don't have it all mapped out, but I do feel very, I do feel more prepared than I did like 2 years ago. Like 2 years ago, I was just like, yeah, like I'm just gonna do this, I'm just gonna do this. But like now, because again, like last year was so like transformative, like I really learned to like really prioritize what's next without overworking myself, obviously. I have a lot of faith in God that wherever I'm going next or wherever I'm going to be placed next, I'm there by the grace of Him, and that's what He wants for me as well. I definitely think I am much more prepared than I was. I can kind of start really like building the real foundation of my life now that I've been, like working and trying to figure out like what I want and like where I want to be.
You've spoken about faith a lot. Recently, you just got confirmed. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Into the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
Have you always been Catholic? Have you always been in that walk of life? Is this something new for you? Did you find it on your own? What's different now?
So yes, I'm newly Catholic, confirmed and baptized. I've always been a Christian though, like my whole life. Because I was christened when I was younger, but I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. Like after a while, like I used to go to like when I lived in New York, like we used to go to I have like faint memories of like Sunday school and like going to service. But like as we got older, like I even think my parents kind of like my grandparents passed away and my dad is Seventh-day Adventist and my mom kind of like converted to Seventh-day Adventist. I think she grew up I don't know if you guys know this. It's Moravian, which is like it's almost like a Catholic, but not really. My dad's parents, my grandparents, his mom and his dad passed away. Like, I feel like we kind of slowly kind of started drifting, like less hearing about God and more just kind of like work this, work that. High school, like, I wasn't really like, I was surrounded by Catholicism everywhere, but I just never really like gave it a chance. It's just like, okay, like we have religion or theology class and we just got to do it, get this A and keep it pushing. You know what I mean? After some time, I kind of just started reading into faith. And it was kind of like brought to my attention because my best friend, Daria, shout out Daria, she's also Catholic and grew up Catholic. So like she knew about it. And like when I had questions, like I would go to her. And then I kind of just slowly started just reading. Like obviously a big thing is like God doesn't come to you when you're happy and high and all like mighty. Like He comes to you when you're in need and when you're like down bad. And I was down bad. This was last year, and I was like, like, what do I do now? And I was like, I'm just talk to God. I don't know what it was, but I guess He just put it in my heart to just like go to Him. So then I started reading my word, and then like 2 months later, I was like, all right, I'm gonna finally, because I was on the Bible app. And I was like, okay, like it's time for me to get a Bible. So then I got my Bible and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna get my highlighters and stuff. But then like you're trying to get into it and really trying to like live your life like that, but you're so stuck in the world still. So I kind of like backtracked in like the summer. And then the fall happened and I met this great person and he kind of like showed me everything and like kind of was like, really was really like motivating me to like keep going in my faith and like keep, persevering. And I just did. And then I was like, like I know the Catholic faith very well. Like my best friend's Catholic. And I was like, all right, I'm going to look for a church, start going to my confirmation class. Started going to my confirmation class. I met the most wonderful people. Shout out St. Mary's too. Shout out St. Mary's. Love those people. Met Father Joe, which is a priest also in New Haven. He's awesome. And like they just made me feel so like, I don't know, like I felt so like whole being in the community. And then I just kept going. The class is really to really see if you even want to really become Catholic. And then all the teachings, I was like, this makes sense. Like this is making sense to me. So I was like,
It's a CCD?
Yes, but it's OCIA because I'm an adult. So CCD is for like kids, like children, and then OCIA is for adults. So like it's the same process, but like obviously you're more mature now. Like when you're a kid, like when they're talking about like purity and like chastity, like they're, they're kind of dumbing it down. But like now it's like you need to be obedient and like you can't do this and you can't do that. It's more like it's explicit in a non-vulgar way. I'll say it like that. But yeah, I just started going to church. I was like reading about things on my own, reading my word, praying every day, praying throughout the day too. And I was just like, I'm ready. And I was like, okay, like I think this is what I want, or like I know this is what I want to do. Like it was put in my heart so long ago. Just did it.
So many branches of Christianity.
Yes.
There's Christianity. You got Protestant, Orthodox, so many different branches of Christianity. So I just want to know why Catholicism and why was that the walk of life that you ultimately landed on?
Honestly, that's a great question. I don't think anyone, well, no, my mom definitely, when I first told her, she was like, well, why do you want to be Catholic? Like, what's that about? It just felt right. I don't know how to really explain. Like, it just felt right. Like, it felt like when I was, being in community with these, like the people in my class, like meeting with our teacher, which is the priest of our church, and like, even like talking with my best friend about it too, who's also Catholic, like everything just felt right. Like it felt like it was for me. And then also like going to a Catholic school, like, because I wasn't supposed to go to Notre Dame. I was supposed to go to Platt Tech, which is insane. No offense to anybody who went there, but like just two different like walks. I feel like, and I feel like God always intended for me to like be there. Like he was like, you are supposed to be here. And like even like in my confirmation class, like I was learning about things. I was like, oh yeah, like I learned this in school. Like I knew it subconsciously and just never thought about it for real. But yeah, I don't know. It just felt right to me, and like I was very familiar with everything. Coming from like Seventh-day Adventist, like no offense to anybody who is SDA, the teachings and everything just it wasn't right for me. Like SDA, that's a whole different video. But yeah, I was just like, well, this is what I know and this is what I don't like, and I also know this and I love this. Like it feels right to me. So it was kind of I think it was just God working through me, honestly. No, yeah. I think one of the most challenging things is the seasons of like of silence and like feeling like God's not listening to you and God's not, doing what you're telling him you need him to do as well. I think that's a big one. But also, I think just as human beings, we all have that doubt. Like we have doubt in everything. We're overthinking so much to the point where we're having doubt in things. I think what kind of helps us understand like being a Christian and being a follower of Christ, more importantly, is like having that faith, right? That faith really guides you. Like it's so hard, but that's what faith is all about. You know what I mean? Like having faith and knowing like, okay, like who knows if this is even true, although it is. Like who knows if like I'm doing all this for no reason. Like it's understandable to have that doubt, but like having faith is more important too. Like that faith has to always overweigh that doubt because you have to know like, okay, well, like, yeah, I feel this way, but like, look what God has done for me in my life by having faith in him. Look what he has done for me. Like, look what he has showed me. Look what he has brought me from. Look what he has brought me to. You know what I mean? So like, you've had faith in all of that. Why now are you kind of like doubting yourself? Like, why is it like, oh, like, well, like, is this true? Like, is this right? Like, what if like you said, like, what if I'm doing all this and like, I'm still condemned, you know what I mean? And even the silence, like I was saying before, like feel like, bro, there's seasons we all go through as Christians. All of us go through seasons of where we're just feeling like God is quiet. But God is very close to us and he's working. Like God said, be still and know that I'm God. And God's timing, bro, I was just talking about this the other day. Like God's timing is it's impeccable. Like he is such an intentional man. Oh my gosh. He is such an intentional man and his timing and everything. He's right on time always. And if you feel like he's not on time, then you're not supposed to be there. You know what I mean? Like that's a big thing I think I had to learn in my faith as well. Like knowing that just because it's delayed doesn't mean it was denied. You know what I mean? Like in this moment, this is where I'm supposed to be, But I think it can be hard to combat it. I'm still learning. Like, I was just telling somebody, like, I've graduated from being a baby Christian to a toddler Christian. So even with this walk, like, it's still very, very difficult. And you kind of just got to have that faith and, like, know that God is God. First of all, that's a great question. Kind of talking a little bit about this too prior to the video, but also I think it's hard. We all live in the world. It's difficult to like live your life in certain areas, not every area, but there's certain areas that are difficult for us to live while we're in the world. You know what I mean? Um, but I think it's very important to, even if you don't feel like it, even if you don't want to, really show people. But you don't, but honestly, okay, so it's kind of, some people say this, and I don't like when people say this, but I'm going to say it too, is when people are like, oh, like, I know, when people say, like, oh, like, I know, like, what, like, me and God have going on, but, like, also, like you said, like, but they say that Friday and then Saturday they're in the club. I think, well, one, it can be contradicting, but you don't have to show people like what you have going on. But I think it's important to set an example. Like if you're saying, okay, I'm a follower of Christ, that means you live by Christ's principles, you live by Christ's teachings. So I think it's important. It's very important because I've even seen that. Like I still follow people like who say like, oh, like I'm a follower of Christ. You know, they're not dressing as modest as they should as a woman, or like men who aren't like leading.
You see it a lot on Easter.
On what?
Easter.
Bro, you guys, obviously you guys will see this and know. 2025 Easter fell on 420. And you saw, bro, I saw somebody post like pure white Hennessy. They're like, these shots are for Jesus. Shout out to you. And it's just like, what are we talking about? Like, we've lost the plot. My conviction might not be your conviction, or your conviction not be my conviction. But as brothers and sisters in Christ, we're supposed to hold each other accountable in a very non-judgmental way. We're supposed to hold each other accountable and like be very gentle with one another and telling each other like, this is not it. But yeah, you really saw this year. We really saw where people's priorities were. It's one day. You guys couldn't take one day to praise. Like, I think it's important to like live your life and move through the world like Jesus did and like Jesus would. But also like say to people like, oh, you should be doing this. You should be doing this. Most of the time when people say that anyways, they're kind of like battling that still themselves. So they kind of try to push it on people. But again, like my conviction isn't the next person's. Like until they're ready, until they feel very like convicted, like you kind of just have to let them. Like again, God is very intentional and his timing is perfect. So he'll let those people know. And if they fall short, they fall short, We all fall short. I don't think like it wouldn't be just for them to be sent out. And a big thing is, like in scripture how it says like, in order for us to see the kingdom, in order for us to sit by the left or right or wherever by God's side, we have to be baptized and stuff like that. um a big thing that I learned actually in Catholicism is that kind of like what you were saying too, you're only really being judged off of the things that you know. But if God knows deep in your heart, like, okay, you do want to finally come to him, you do want to repent, and like something intervened or something stopped that from happening, like if someone came in, you're using your analogy, somebody came into the room and like shot them and they died. God knows like where their heart is and where where they were in that moment. You know what I mean? Like he knows that they were finally going to come to him. Like he knows that. So I don't think it's just for them to be sent out, and I don't think they would. Yes and no. Like we spoke about this also a little bit. That God calls on us and God puts it in our heart to start following him, and become and like start devoting our lives to him. But I also think it's important to like as a Christian or as a follower of Christ to spread the word, you know what I mean? And talk to people and tell people about what is to be true. You know what I mean? And scripture also tells us that we're supposed to live our lives like Christ did. So I think a big thing of that is, I mean, Jesus 30 years old wasn't just sitting at home not doing nothing. He was walking and spreading the gospel and telling people like this is the word of the Lord. You know what I mean? And tell people like, this is what's right, even if they don't want to follow, even if they're like absolutely not, like no, like get this out of here. Like one day they'll understand like I would hope, even because, there's some people who don't and who just don't want to follow, or there's some people from like other religions as well who just they don't know Christianity and they just only know what they know. That still doesn't mean that you'll be like damned either. Like, I think another big thing that I learned in the Catholic faith as well, going back to kind of what we were saying, is that again, you're only being judged for the things that you know. So if you had no idea, if you're in a place in the world where they don't talk about Christianity at all, like, you're only being judged off your morals. You know what I mean? Like what you've done in your life that were good or bad. Because we all know like there's things that are morally bad, there's things that are morally good. So yeah, I think yeah. I mean, we know we're all sinners. Most importantly, I think what's gotten me through a lot of the things that I was just so like familiar with and like things that I was like, okay, yeah, like this is nothing. Like I can do this, was like praying, like, and replacing that. And I think a big thing too that I had to learn is like I was trying to like replace not doing stuff with nothing. And I feel like it's like impossible for us as humans to do that. Like, I think a big thing I had to learn was, okay, if I'm feeling this way, or if I want to do this, or if I want to do this, like, I need to find a better outlet. Okay, I need to go get up and I need to go run. Okay, like, I'm just going to read my devotional and like do a quick study or something like that to kind of like help combat that. It is in our natural nature, and like, we'll never be perfect. I think that's something that's talked about a lot. Like, we will never be perfect. So it's easy to like have those slip ups, and like fall to sin. But it's important for us to get up, repent, ask for forgiveness, and move forward and change. Like, asking for forgiveness is nothing without change. So I think it's important, even if you're changing something so small about whatever sin you're committing, like you're changing something so that it doesn't happen again.
We go through a time now where like we treat it so normal. How do you hold it, right? Because obviously, I'll give you an example, right? If somebody's spouse cheats on them versus if they just lie to them, it's different. They don't see it the same. So how do you differentiate sin? Do you differentiate sin? And do you think it's bad that our society differentiates it so much and that we shame people who have certain types of sin versus others?
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's a great question, and I want to make sure I'm saying. But I just remember during like my confirmation class process, one of the big things that we spoke about was sin, and the way I believe, I mean, it was during my confirmation class, but the way we kind of differentiated sin and like the different levels of sin, pretty sure it's like venal sins and then mortal sins. And mortal sins are more of like what you were talking about, like murder, even like, I would say adultery too. But I would honestly place like using God's name in vain in mortal, only because like that stuff really just be like, it bothers me so much. It's kind of like we put our feelings over our faith. You know what I mean? So I feel the same about both. Because why are you lying to me? Like, one, that's a sin, but two, like that hurts me and that hurts my feelings. But also, like, same thing if my husband was to cheat on me, the same thing. It's kind of the same thing with that too, because it's like, why did you cheat on me? Sinning is sinning at the end of the day, even though there's like graver sins than and there's like lesser sins. I want to say sinning is sin, you know what I mean, and sin is sin. So I think for me, like using that example, like it would hurt the same, but I have to understand that like it isn't the same.
The Bible says the wages of sin is death.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe all sin separate you from God?
Yes, I believe that all sin can, and if you continue to do it, it will separate you from God. I think that even though we say like, okay, lying is like a venial sin, like, okay, it's not a mortal sin, it's still a sin. And even if we feel like our lie is small, like it could be bigger it's always tied to something bigger. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, okay, well, like I just told you I wasn't on the way, but this person thought I was on the way to meet me there, and God forbid they get in a car accident, because they thought I was leaving when I wasn't supposed to be leaving. You know what I mean? Like things of that, like just thinking of the most craziest scenarios, but using that kind of like as an example. But yes, I do think that all sin can and will, again, if you're consistently doing it, can lead to the separation of God. And I think it's something that we need to, us as humans, we really have to prioritize. Like it's very like dangerous, almost like that's not a good word, but I'll just use that word, like very dangerous and scary, honestly.
Shifting from that religious point of view, right? How do you feel in 2025? Because it is something that I feel like has really challenged people's identities with presidencies and all of these things. How do you feel currently with being African American in this society? How has it shaped you? You can talk about from high school to now. And do you ever feel uncomfortable in your skin?
On an academic basis, I definitely did feel like a bit more, especially going to like a PWI. You're in a class for a specific major, and then there's kids that look nothing like you, and like you feel kind of almost like intimidated, like you're not good enough, like you're not supposed to be here, because it's like, okay, well, why is this like my major is psychology, so it's like, okay, why am I taking this like core psychology course and there's no other, like, okay, say I'm taking like psych 2, but in order for me to take psych 2, like I had to take psych 1. And it's like, okay, in psych 1, like I saw a lot of people that look like me.
Prerequisites.
Right. And they didn't, like now I just don't see anybody. Like I'm in psych 2 and I don't see anybody that looks like me. Like it's like the class is smaller, but also it's like I don't see anybody that looks like me. So I feel like sometimes it could be a little intimidating in certain academic like areas, but also in like the workplace. I'm blessed to not have to deal with people. I just deal with my kids. But even like as an adult, like in the real world, it's definitely like tough to be in a work environment that's, in a general basis, I'll say this, that is dominated by people who look nothing like you. You know what I mean? So I would say it's intimidating and it's a little scary, but I've been blessed to not have, I mean, maybe I just missed it too, who knows, but I've been blessed to not have any crazy encounters, especially living in America. Like that's like rare, I feel like. And I've never had any like face to face like encounters because of my race and because of what I look like. Blessed to be able to say that. But I also feel for the people who have, you know what I mean? Like it's definitely harder for them. And it's hard in general for anybody to have to go through something like that.
When you talk about being a Black woman and going through these things and, trying to understand yourself and the world, what's the stereotype that you hate that's completely incorrect, whether it pertains to you or Black women in general? And what's the stereotype that you feel like has hit you guys like a glove that you really wish Black women as a collective would stop allowing that to happen?
Okay. Perfect. I thought of it. To answer the first question, I think a big just stereotype is that Black women are angry and aggressive just in our day to day. Someone's doing something to us, like we're responding, but like it's always addressed of how we're responding and not like what was said to us to make us respond like that. I hate to say this phrase, but there's so much rage bait honestly out there, and I feel like there's people who genuinely in the work environment, in school, in just the world in general, like a day to day, that really like get under your skin and they say things, you react and it's like, well, why did you react like that? And it's never like, well, what did you say to make me react like that? So I think that's a big one. Black women are great. I don't think Black women are aggressive at all. And I don't think that we're like angry. We have this stigma where it's like, oh yeah, she's an angry Black woman, da da da. But I do think sometimes we do play into that and we kind of have to, I hate to say that we have to conform because we shouldn't have to. Like, if I'm sitting next to, like a white woman and someone says something about women that offends both of us, just women in general that offends both of us, and we react the same, it's like, oh, be careful for her because like she's reacting a little scary, versus like we have the exact same reaction. Like you offended someone or you said something that we didn't like, but because I'm Black, it's like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. She's an angry Black girl. Like, you know what I mean?
How bad is the dating scene and what's something you change about it knowing what you know now?
When I heard that, I immediately thought, do you know the movie Baby Boy? Yes, it was like Jodie and yes, girl. I immediately think of that because like why it was that like the basis, like in the early 2000s, like that was like the basis of what people expected or like saw out of like Black relationships. And I mean, a lot of that stuff could be true, and a lot of that stuff is true, but like that was really like a thing that people were like, yeah, like that makes sense. Like like that's Black couple, that's Black love. Like, no, that's not Black love at all. Like, I've seen great Black relationships. Like, I was blessed to grow up with like both of my parents, in my life, like happily married, like still dating each other, So I had like a positive example of like what Black love should look like. But like I've also, I've dated Black men. I've been in interracial relationships as well. Speaking like directly about like being in an interracial relationship, it's different. And I feel like in order for you, like, because I'm a Black woman and I've dated a white man, I feel like it's totally different, like, than dating like a Black man or like like a person of color, like someone who's Hispanic or something. Like, it's totally different. And I feel like in order for that to really work, like the person needs to be very well versed in Black issues. Like, I've seen this happen, and like I'm a concerned person in this community, and how can I explain to you that you should be concerned too if you don't, if you don't look like me, if you've never, like, you don't have a Black brother that you need to be worried, like, if the cops stop him, like anything crazy can happen, you know what I mean?
And the overturning about Roe versus Wade, very, very politically controversial, religiously controversial, right? Abortion and the ideas behind should a woman have the ability to do this act? Should a woman have the choice? Does rape count as an excuse or as a reason? Are children not ready? Is sex so normalized now that it's putting people in positions to do this? Do we not take sex seriously? What are your thoughts on Roe versus Wade? And would you do it differently?
Roe v. Wade is definitely a very sensitive subject. It's a very sensitive topic. It has, or it can have, a lot to do with just, just casual, like sex and things of that sort. Some people are in relationships and who are trying for a kid, but like they have medical conditions and they know like this can happen to the baby. Like, I can carry it full term, still not make it, and I know that it won't make it. So like I have to like handle it now. In the world is a gruesome place. It's a hard place, and like there's cases of just like rape and even like incest and things of that sort. We have to also take into account that fact as well. And I'm not saying that means like, okay, you don't bring, just because of this, like you can persevere, like, because I feel like it's almost a little heartless to say that to people, that like, oh, like, well, this happened, but you should still whatever because the baby didn't do anything. Like, some people genuinely can't deal with that like emotional connection. The discourse about being pro-life, it's not really pro-life. Like, I feel like it's pro-life to an extent. And people, I hear people use the whole thing like, well, what if my kid's a serial killer? Da, da, da. Like, I can't even argue with that. Like, if that's what you think your kid's gonna be, that's fine. But I also think that people are pro-life until it's time to really care about the life. The child in like a foster care system, blah, blah. But that stuff is even worse. That does numbers on people, like very detrimental to people. Like, I'm sure you can pull up the statistic about the crime rate of people who've been through the system and who have stayed in the system like their whole life, So that's how I kind of feel. But I will say I am pro-life for myself. I was married and I was to conceive, like I would obviously keep my kid, but like I'm pro-choice everybody else. It's your decision. It's your body.